29, 30, and 31st talks about. So there has to be a clear understanding of the real self, individual self, self effort, and the karma yoga. I have talked a bit about the karma yoga in the past, and we will see from a deeper perspective. Even the Krishna says you cannot leave karma yoga, even if you are awakened. And that also shows you are not awakened, but you claim you are awakened. It means there is some problem. So there should be a clear understanding. See the three parts: real self versus the individual self. So if there is an individual self, I have to do some self effort, and then the karma yoga. That self effort comes under meditation, and karma yoga, that we follow the path all the time. Now, in the second part, individual self and the real self is replaced as the supreme self. What is that supreme consciousness? What is that God? And the self effort is replaced by what is known as mantra, meditation, etc. And now, here, when we understand the supreme consciousness, we say there is nothing to be done. No karma yoga is there. God doesn't do any karma yoga. So it is the grace and the blessing. We can receive the grace and the blessing all the time. It does not mean I have prayed so many days but nothing happened. It is my individual self which is talking about it. So I have to purify the mind to a certain level to receive the grace. So you see that what happens as we continue to progress into the journey, now that individual self is replaced by the supreme self, we continue the journey practice, and the grace and the blessing we can feel it is happening in our life. But still, the journey comes to an end when we clearly understand the oneness of the real self and the supreme self. Oneness of the real self and the supreme self, or the consciousness, or you can say the God and the individual consciousness. Then what happens? There is a sense of realization. That is where the awakening takes place. So we are just living like a free bird as long as the prarabdha is there, the past impressions are there, and we say goodbye to this body and the mind. That is the meaning that real self is realized. Now there are a couple of possibilities. The many me in a seeker, the desire for the world remains outside. As long as the desire for seeking peace and happiness from the world continues, that individual self maintains its identity, or you can directly say the ego is continuous. Ego continues. So when you have only one goal of life, that is desire to know the real self all the time, 24/7, what happens? You are the highest level of a seeker. Now look at this master, how he understands and makes it clear. And you have to keep this awareness all the time. Desire for the wealth outside, I have to need to make an effort, make a project, which business, by what way I have to secure the wealth or buy a home, etc., etc. But when we use the word desire to know the real self, it is not the same effort that I have to put. the way I have to put the desire for the wealth. Then what it is? You start contemplating and reflecting because the real self is already inside. So there, now I'm making you clear. You have asked that after all, that is also a desire. So here this desire for the real self is the desire to know the real self. To know the real self, I have to remove the ignorance. To know the ignorance, what should I do? Let me start contemplating and reflecting. Let me remind, this is what the Master is saying, that I am the real self and it is within me. So, desire to know the real self is different from desire to get anything from outside. There, that ego does not play its role. When it plays its role, then you have an impurity of the mind. We have to purify the mind. This is what the Master is saying. So it means now we are clear, desire to know the real self, satoguna increases, I start contemplating and reflecting, am I not living in that real self? No, my mind, because of its impurity, it is seeking pleasure outside. So now I recognize. Instantly I recognize, and that knowledge is settled. Another point that is also very important to understand, that when the knowledge is steady, Krishna says, when that knowledge is steady, you are already there. You may find there are some impurities in there, but ultimately that will leave you. But you have now more faith, tremendous faith in the journey than before. Highest level of a seeker. Here what happens? We are going deeper. So here what happens? So this master says that you are a seeker with kamya karma. You are definitely a great seeker, you understand it, but still keep your some of the desires for pleasure outside. It takes long time, and you may get some powers. But these powers may bring you down. If they come on its naturally, it is okay. It is a part of the nature. Nature has designed in some way to help someone, to support someone. But if you keep that desire, there comes the danger with it. People talk about that I can read the mind. It's not a big deal. It's a mental power. I can feel the vibrations. I can feel the other guy has a negative energy because you have a negative energy. That's why you are feeling the negative energy. God does not have the negative energy because your mind is located at a lower level of consciousness. That is why you are recognizing it. Refuse to recognize. Recognize only the real self. So at a lower level, the ideas of vibrations, chakra healing, they all belong to the lower level. We have to do nothing more. Be very clean. So then this master comes that there are 4, 3, 7, 3, 10. Yes, you can say 10 or 11. So there we say that yajna, tap, dan and tap. Yajna means we have already done nitya and naimitya karma, that is one part of it. We will also see that yajna, by meaning of the yajna or yajna, that am I a contributor or a consumer? Your honey is crazy. Should I become crazy? I am still a consumer. I become a contributor to help him and her to evolve. I give her space. If he or she is crazy, I don't become crazy. So I'm giving her space. That is the way the destiny is designed. That is the way the destiny is designed. That is the way the kids are born. That is the way the outer environment is given. That is the way the amount of the wealth is given to us. The entire scheme has been designed by the existence for us to evolve. So, as long as we are a consumer, we see everything as a utility, my ego self is always dominant. So, yajna in the beginning, so not only the karma yoga, but yajna, this form of the yajna has to be introduced. I will introduce as this master talks about it. I had introduced before also. Another is the way the charity. Why I'm talking to a lot of people? It's a way of contributing the knowledge. So contributing the knowledge is also a charity. Giving the money is also a charity. Giving the physical, in terms of the food, is also a charity. So we have to keep our mind very clear. What I possess, it comes from the existence and going to the existence. I have to change the entire inner attitude of my mind. If I don't change that inner attitude, what will happen? You are listening to me for an hour, you do 1 hour of meditation, and the rest of the time will be dictated by the individual self. So I have to change the orientation. And then the tapa. Tapa means endurance. Endurance, or you can say titiksha, we discussed in fourfold practices also. Another way of understanding the endurance, that you find certain challenges in your life, you endure it in the state of the calmness and the peace. You don't claim, you don't blame, you do not complain. So one area, maybe very smaller or bigger area of endurance, should continue throughout your life. I gave an example. This guy who told me I have 5, 6 houses. Did I tell you? So I said I'm homeless, jobless, and knowledgeless. So he sent me an email that I'm also homeless, even though I have 5, 6 houses. I said I got it. So he started learning again, and then I charged the money as I usually charge with other. So he said, I don't have money now, I will send you the last week. He recognized his mistake. The next moment he sent the money. You are making a mockery of yourself. You have 5, 6 houses and you cannot pay. You say that I don't have the money. So we understand from which mind you are working, from which state you are working. So there, what happens? I need not to boast and become a hypocrite and show to the world. That causes a lot of challenges in our life. Lot of challenges. I have not to show to the world. I have to show to my real self. So later on I told him last year you wrote this. And then you sent an email. And then you paid it. So there were 3 eyes which were working. So I need not to understand you more than what I have already understood about you. But he has become a great seeker. He realizes his mistakes. I said, organize your outer life also. If you have lot of money, see how much it is required in organizing your outer personal, professional, and social life. And then whatever is left, you can use it in a better way. Make it very clear to you. So the more and more you organize and get rid of this false ego is also a tapa, is also an endurance. Use it, because you want a take a flight, you have to use it. You have to use the petrol, you have to use it. You have to use it for your kids, use it. But don't expend your pleasure-seeking mind because you have a lot of wealth, because you claim you have 5, 6 houses. I believe it, I have nothing to do with it. I have no competition because I'm homeless. So we will talk, these are the 3 practices which include some kind of mantra meditation, endurance, some kind of a uparati, what we have discussed earlier. Because if we don't follow these 3 steps, 3 practices all the time, by directly or indirectly, this ego will come back. So every time I give a lesson, I say this is a contribution coming from my master, and I have contributed to you and others. That's all, finished. It is coming from there, and through me it is going to you. So that state of the mind helps us to purify the mind, to connect to the entire existence. We will talk about this Panch Mahayagya as this journey comes. Only after this, the 4-fold practices comes. The Vairagya, Vivek, Vairagya, 6 treasures, and desire to know the real self. Now you have understood. The desire to know the real self is that I start contemplating. Because only I have to remove the ignorance. I have not to get something from outside. So desire to get the wealth, I have to secure it from outside. I have to make an effort. I have to make a project. So here the project is Vivek, Vairagya and 6 treasures. Now you see that we still go along with these 4-fold practices. So once we reach to a state of clarity, then the last 3 practices is Shravan, Manan and Nididhyasana. This master starts the journey with Shravan, Manan and Nididhyasana. This is what the topic 28, 29, 30, 31. 4 topics I'm taking. Now, many realized masters debated themselves. So we have to be very clear about this debate. We have to extract the knowledge. So there is one master which is known as Vachaspati Mishra. He says he gives the credit to the practices and the mind of a seeker. Nishchal Dasa, who is the author of this book, he gives credit to the, say for example, just take an example that, what is the example? That you have a pain in the stomach and I have to solve it. So Vachaspati Mishra gives the credit to the sadhana and the mind of his study. Means he gives the credit to the stomach. There is another master who gives equal credit to the stomach and the medicine. And this master says, no, you give credit to only medicine. You need not to worry about the stomach and need not to worry about from where you procured it, need not to worry about from where you got the medicine. What I am saying, they debated themselves in order to arrive at one point. So common factor is the doctor and the medicine. So here the doctor is the teacher and the stomach where the ignorance is located. Common factor. And what is the unique factor? Only the medicine is required. What is that medicine? I am the real self. I am not the real self, and here I am the real self. So there are lot of lot of understanding, lot of debate is there. So I'm skipping that part. Now see, desire to know the real self means what? I know I'm not fat because I'm the real self. I'm not slim. I'm not tall. I'm not short. I'm not rich. I'm not poor. I'm not bad. I'm not good. I'm not happy. I'm not unhappy. And these thoughts are constantly coming into my mind every day. Desire to know the real self. These thoughts are coming to me. I have to change the thought process. Instantly the way went, no, I have a lot of headache. Okay, let me treat the headache, but I'm the real self. Contemplation and reflection is required here. This is what this master is. The more we think along these lines, more and more thoughts of suffering will drop by itself because it comes by ego, can be destroyed easily. Desire, I'm stressing again, you have to be very clear. Desire, so this master is very clear. He said, desire to know the real self means that you start contemplation and reflection. Desire to know the real self. So when you start the contemplation and reflection, your intellect chooses that path, it gets absorbed into meditation by itself. Om Namah Shivaya. Oh, I am Shiva myself. Instead, I say Om Namah Shivaya, there is a Shiva in front of me. No, they cannot be two. It goes to the binary format. Look at it. This is what the master is saying. Binary format. Only there is two things matter in the consciousness. Consciousness cannot be divided. So that Shiva has to be one with me. And that is why I am saying Om Namah Shiva. But why I am saying surrender? Because of the impurity of the mind, because of the individual self. So that individual self surrenders. What is left is Shiva. You just see. That is the way this master says self-inquiry. So what happens? The individual self, the false I, will force you to recognize there are two consciousnesses. One is the false I, which feels that Shiva is separate from me. It is separate definitely from the false I. It is not separate from the real self. This is what the master is trying to point out. His debating and his argument is wonderful. So, what is happening? So, I do not favor the impurities of the mind. I do not favor those desires which builds the false I based on seeking something outside. Where I'm doing the karma yoga. It may appear a little difficult, but I'll make it easy. So, once this is clear, now you have to pay another attention. We have done lot of time, but this is what it is. Viveka means I'm aware of the change versus unchanging reality. Every change takes place on the surface. Behind that, there is an unchanging identity. There has to be a center of the earth which does not move and everything moves around it. Solar system, galaxy. Ego does not allow us to focus on that, become aware of that unchanging reality. You are listening to me, that is also a change, but the knowledge remains constant, means that awareness remains constant, that awareness does not change. It appears as if awareness is changing. No, it is the thought, feeling, sensation, understanding undergoes a change. That needs to be clearly separated from one another, is what the Viveka is. He is giving another definition. There is an awareness. In the field of the awareness, the body is changing, the mind is having the memories of those words which comes out as a speech and a thought, but behind that awareness is never changing identity. It is what the Viveka is. So in the beginning we started with the discernment or Viveka separate real from the false, but now we are going deeper. Any time, any space, the time and the space are subject to change. An object are subject to change in the presence of that awareness. If the awareness is not there, I don't recognize the change. Because the mouse does not say I am changing, look at me. The screen does not say I am changing, look at me. The Master says anything achieved by the time, space, and the object and the effort will definitely die one day. Master is coming to a conclusion. Anything that leaves me, that is still changing, that will continue to change, cannot be me. So if we don't do Viveka and Vairagya, it will not happen. On the other side, if we are following the fourfold practices, it always helps you to reduce the stress in the world, in relationship. Don't take it lightly what I'm going to say, but you have to contemplate and reflect more and more. We understood what we understood, Viveka. As you continue to do the practice, that Viveka results into Vairagya, the dispassion. And as you continue the journey of Viveka, the Viveka and Vairagya results into 6 treasures. And the 6 treasures result into Mumukshu, the desire to know the real self. So this master is saying, those 6 treasures, Viveka and Vairagya, they all are same. They are one. They are not 2. They are not 3. Such a deeper analysis and understanding. Peace in the mind is the first treasure, Sama. But before peace in the mind, you recognize you have already separated peace from the stress. It is Viveka. You are already in the state of a dispassion. You have vairagya. You are detached from the pain. Peace in the mind is sama. We did it, sama, the first treasure. Second treasure is the dhamma. Peace in the sense organ is sama. When the peace is in action, whether you are thinking, speaking, and acting, making any effort in your business, is uparati, the third treasure. Peace in the body is endurance, titiksha. I'm talking about six treasures. It is supported by viveka and vairagya. Viveka means that I am thinking, contemplating, and reflecting. Reflecting means I'm separating the two. It is very clear, separating the two. Say I have a pain, where I have a pain in the body. So that when there is a peace in the body, I know it is titiksha, it has come from viveka and vairagya, and now I see there is a peace. When the peace there in the heart, it is known as faith and belief. They all are same. So I have to recognize whether I have a peace in the mind, peace in the sense organ, peace is there in my action, peace is there in the body, peace is there in the heart, and then what happens? The peace in the mind step, in the chitta we say. The thoughts are coming and going, all the crazy thoughts are coming. They will continue to come and go as long as the past impressions are there. But now I'm untouched by it. So that peace in the mind, in the sense organ, in the body, in my action, in the heart is dispassion. Don't make it very difficult. No, I don't have, I was attached. But after attachment, you were detached. How long you can be attached to something? So you have recognized that you were attached. Next time, before you get attached, be in peace. Are you getting it? Understand, pay attention to it. So it's a beautiful way to understand. So it means that viveka, vairagya, shatasampatti, six treasures, and desire to know the real self will only take place when there is a peace in the mind. When there is a peace in the body, when there is a peace in the sense organ, when there is a peace in the heart, when there is a peace in the body. Otherwise, we ignore. Who ignores? The individual self ignores. Ego ignores. Ego says, make an effort. Take a pill. Take vodka. Go for a sex. Because ego already knows. It has already has an impressions. But when you are in peace, so he says further, the peace, when the peace is in sama, it manages your anger and reaction. When the peace is dhamma, means in the sense organ, it prevents distractions caused by the sense organ. Whether you say it is a peace or awareness, it is the same thing. But here he stresses that there should be a peace, saved peace. So what happens in uparati? In uparati manages unwanted actions. Uparati means, I said, you transcend both body and the sense organ. The third, so what happens? Peace in the body prevents you to do hyperaction, hyperactivity, unwanted action in the life, you calm down. You don't get upset. You don't make the body upset. You are just calm. In titiksha means endurance, and in endurance, it balances and reduces the reaction of the body so you don't get tired. Peace in the body is titiksha, endurance. There we understood. Now we are understanding the benefit. Faith simply means, now look at this, normally we talk of the blind belief and blind faith and a long list, teachers of this Eastern wisdom, they say, believe me, why should I believe you? Why shouldn't I believe myself? When you believe on the real self, it kills your ego. Logical analysis, you analyze, you understand, be very clear. The greater the clarity, less the ego. So don't take ego as very big thing. Greater the clarity, I know I am the real self, then why to worry about it? Why to fight with you? Why to react? That is known as the faith in Eastern West. It is not that, close your eyes and have a blind belief and start doing Om Namah Shivaya. No. No. I am doing Om Namah Shivaya only, that is the means to reach to the real self. Because I have seen, I have understood there is no pleasure outside in the world, in anything. That is already a faith. So that is killing your ego. No, I have less faith and I have more faith and I don't believe and I believe. They all are part of the individual self and the ego. Be very clear. It's a play and a fun when we are a higher level of a seeker. And what is the sixth treasure? Sixth treasure is known as the samadhana, leads to a natural state of the mind. I have repeated many a times. This is another explanation of what we have done. Shankara says, Satisangatve nisasangatvam. From the satsang, we results into detachment. Detachment results into dispassion. Dispassion results into a natural steadiness of the mind. In that natural steadiness of the mind, if the teacher says, here you see the real self, and the student says yes, you remove the ignorance. First is the peace. We have understood how the peace is defined with reference to Vivek, Vairagya, six treasures, and also the intense desire to know the real self. Peace is a prerequisite. But understand that the peace in the body is different than the peace in the mind. The peace in the sense organ is different than the peace in the heart. Peace in the heart generates faith. Peace in the sense organ drops the attachment. Still, the peace is there. So, because if we explain earlier, why we have explained differently, to help our intellect to grasp the meaning with reference to body, sense organ, mind, past impression. But now we are bringing that to one. Am I in peace? Answer is spontaneous yes. Answer is spontaneous no. I have a pain in the body. So peace is not in the body. Peace is not in the body. I have to inquire there. I have not to use the word I am the body, therefore I have a pain in the body. Are you getting it? This master is. So master says that the man who is in peace in every manner is a qualified seeker. So there are two benefits of it. One is that, I calm down, I am calm in my personal life, in my professional life, in my social life, in my family life. I know how to withdraw myself. And that is the greatest benefit out. So I have least disturbances from the world. And then I can devote my mind or intellect for contemplation and reflection to do the self-inquiry. Then the self-inquiry continues throughout the day. You are almost in a state of meditation throughout the day. Desire to know the real self is not to do any action. Now I'm making you clear again. Desire to know the real self is to contemplate and reflect here and now in this situation or in any situation. So when the thought of the self-inquiry or thought of realization of the real self comes, I instantly become aware of it. It is awareness. From there the journey starts. From the awareness, the dispassion filters out. No, I know that if I enter this area, I will not be in peace, so don't enter this area. No, but I have to, I was pushed to enter into that area. What is the foolproof plan? Do you remember Karma Yoga? Karma Yoga is a foolproof plan. Yes, so now I'm being pushed, so okay, let me do Karma. I don't have any expectations from outside. I've changed my attitude inside. Let us do it. Let us go on vacation. Yes, family says, let us go. No worry. Go on vacation. Yeah, I want to eat this, eat this. Peace in the sense organ, say for the sense of tongue. I like this food and I don't like this food. Peace is not there. Likes and dislikes are there. Hesitation is there. We don't want even a slight hesitation in order to do the inquiry. So what is going to happen? You apply this at the time of eating the food, and what will happen? You will lose interest in your likes and dislikes. We need that state. So there is a peace in the sense organ of the tongue. You rise in awareness. When you rise in awareness, peace in the heart is killing your ego. You need not to worry. You continue to use I, my, me, it doesn't matter. But internal change has already come. So we have to understand it clearly. Vivek, Vairagya, Shat Sampatti, and Mumukshu with reference to the peace. And now it is very easy. Every day you wake up, first you think body has a complaint. Okay, peace is not in the body. What is required, a level of endurance is required. Titiksha is required. Why titiksha is required? Is body permanent? No, it is constantly changing. Sickness and the health are dynamic state of the body. Nobody who is born has never been sick. Not possible. So I see clearly this body is changing. I cannot have a luxury to keep the black beard all the time. Not possible at all. Why shouldn't I expect? Why shouldn't I accept this? That is titiksha. So you have accepted. The endurance is that you have a total acceptance without any hesitation in the mind. Today you are getting some other food that you don't like and you eat it. Why you eat it? Eat to live and live to eat. Finished. So you have practiced peace in the sense organ, peace in the body. also, and peace in the mind also. You are not allowing yourself to be dictated by the ups and downs, preferences, likes and dislikes from the outside. That is the goal. Because Master has to follow its journey. He says there are only two things, matter and consciousness. So that's why he is helping us. So this Master is saying that you have consumed the medicine. Medicine is Vivek Vairagya. Six treasures. Continue to eat medicine. Keep this medicine handy. Eat it and you're happy. It has a very profound impact on our lifestyle, attitude, and behavior. Peace in the mind, peace in the sense organ, peace in the action, peace in the body, peace in the heart, faith. Peace in the mind stuff means mind is wandering, let it wander, They do not belong to me. So what is going to happen? You are minimizing the impact of your prarabdha, the past impression, because of which the thoughts are coming. If you don't pay attention, they will not, you don't entertain them. You may have highly negative thought, you may have highly positive thought, then what? But gradually what happens, the mind now settles. The prarabdha says, no, I cannot dictate on you. So those thought instantly dissolves. I'm linking it again. Impure mind cannot know the real self. Qualified mind can know the real self. The intellect illumines the real self. So when the peace is there, it's a right environment is there. I wonder how much this master might have analyzed, how many hours and days he was constantly sitting in meditation to recognize these moments. And just he came down to only one thing. It's a very difficult challenge. Normally we separate all the things. We separate, there is a viveka, and then there is a dispassion, and then there is a calmness, and then there is endurance, and then there is a faith, and then there is a natural state of the mind. Master is saying this is one medicine. It cures the disease. You have a pain, you are attached to the pain, you forget it. You forget your journey. Now he says peace in the body is a medicine. What is that? Endurance there. Peace in the sense organ. So mind goes through the sense organ, have a preference of likes and dislikes. You already dropped the likes and dislikes. The sense organ continues to perceive those objects without any hesitation. He's saying peace. It blew my mind when I read it many, many years ago. Consumption of the medicine cures the disease. This is what this master says. So you have to pay attention to that knowledge. He's coming to that. Knowledge is consciousness. So that will come later. So he's going step by step. Medicine lying in the shelf is of no use. consumed medicine cures the disease. And when I can consume any time. When I wake up in the morning, when I go to sleep, when I'm talking to anyone, when I'm doing my effort, when I'm living my life, when I'm sitting in the restroom. You see? That is known as the choiceless awareness of J. Krishnamurti. He was also a great master, no doubt. And we say, okay, let us be choiceless. How can you be choiceless without peace? How can you be in peace in the sense organ, in the mind, in the heart, in your action, unless you understand the basic principles? See that? How clear it is. Consumption cures the disease. So this master says, from where the consumption idea has come? By listening to and learning from the teacher. You don't study the books to find this kind of medicine. You study science. No, you don't have that medicine. You don't have a right medicine. That is why this master says, I'm not saying, this master says, no, you have to listen to me until all the 431 topics are concluded. So this master is saying, are you listening to me? Yes. You have understood all the Vivek, Vairagya, Shat Sampatti, and plus the desire to know all the fourfold practices? Yes. Did you find the changes? Yes, I find the calmness. The same way when I say you are the real self, you will recognize it. You don't need the practice. If that much change can come by understanding, so that is why he says you don't need a practice. We will continue the practice because we have to live our life. We'll continue. But he says no. You consume what you consume, another medicine. What is that medicine? I am real self. In the thought form, it is a medicine. At the level of realization, it is a weight. I'm feeling thirsty. You don't search, still the thirst is there. No, I don't need to do it. I'm absorbed. This master goes very deep into our mind or intellect that lives at an extraordinary level of awareness. I'm just summarizing these 4 topics. So there are many debates in these 4 topics. One master says this, how you resolve this. So he has resolved all the objections. So I made it very simple because it becomes very, very complex in the very beginning. It becomes dry. We will pick up these principles later again. I'm hungry, I eat the food. Hunger is gone. I need not to think again of the hunger. Finished. It is done. So the way he says, you consume the medicine, you recognize peace, 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 viveka, peace, vairagya, peace, sama, peace, dhamma, peace, uparati, peace, titiksha, peace, peace, shraddha, faith, and the peace, samadhanam. Now because you are looking with reference to the peace, everything that is changing in you but the peace. You have to contemplate and reflect. Anytime you want to speak, thought, speech, and action, these are three modes of physical action. Speaking is also an action, and when I'm thinking, it is also an action. I'm thinking about my daughter, I'm thinking about my honey, I'm thinking about this guy. Peace, peace in action. Peace in action is uparati. That supports sama and dhamma. It means I'm not carried away by a particular name and the form of a person. Carried away means I'm likes and dislikes. We need that level of awareness for this master to follow. Yeah, I would say we have done Maha. I don't want to go into the debate. He debated with a lot of masters, and every master agreed him. So at present, it is not required. Yes, one more thing, simple thing is that real self is eternal, means it is timelessness. Real self is truth. Truth means it is beyond space, time, and object because everything that is in the space and the time is constantly changing. Truth means what it remains an absolute truth. I'm bringing these six attributes from Gita. Third, because the real self is eternal, because it is truth, that is why it is all pervading. What does it mean by all pervading? That there is no space left where there is no real self. So when there is no space left, it means it is unchanging. It cannot change by itself. It cannot go under any modification. It cannot become slim, fat, good, bad, high, low. There is no way. It cannot be objectified. It cannot become an object of the mind. What it has to do, what the real self has to do, nothing. We have to recognize that it has to do nothing. That is why it is not a doer in the experiences. As long as we have an idea, feeling, and a thought that it is a doer and the enjoyer, doer and the experience, a doer and the feeler, doer and the pain, it is the ego part.